Welcome back to the Unapologetic Podcast. Today I have with me Jackie, and we are going to get into some really great topics. I'm so excited for this conversation. Jackie, introduce yourself
Mhm.
to everyone.
Thank you, Tara, and hello, everyone. Excited to be here. I think we're just going to see how this conversation goes, and yeah, also excited to hear what comes from it. Um, I am a coach. I'm based in Western Canada. I mostly work with mid-career professionals. Most of my clients are ones who have been trying very hard to fit into boxes that organizations tell them they have to fit into. So for a lot of folks, this looks like neurodivergent. I also identify as someone who is neurodivergent, and I also work with clients who are neurotypical. But I love this space of helping someone to reclaim their belonging. So like that typically with my clients is in a context of work. But defining that, what does that mean for you? How can you
Mhm.
claim that space and show up in that space? So yeah, my business is called Coaching That Belongs. And yeah, I think we'll probably expand on that more, but I'll stop there for now.
Yes, so I would love to know, and you can tell everyone else, how did you get started in this? So what
Yeah.
started it all off?
Yeah. So I come from a background in HR. I still do some HR consulting, mostly again in the space of neuro inclusion in organizations. But my HR background started 11 plus years ago in like mass recruitment, employee recognition, employee engagement, and then saw a shift into DEI and accessibility. So I've worked for a couple of organizations where I've led both of those programs, and learned so much and connected with so many people who find themselves in those communities, and how they want to show up at work, given that that's their identity and that's their background. And so I think just the relationships that I built with people during that time is probably, if you were to ask me like what feels the most meaningful, that is what I would say. And so that was, I would say, a very fulfilling and exciting and also chaotic time in my life. HR is a helping profession. I think a lot of folks go into HR because they want to help other people. They want to
Hmm.
support managers and employees, and that is part of it. And it can also be a very chaotic field to work in. You're
Yeah.
constantly being brought other people's emergencies that need to be dealt with ASAP. And that means often you're deprioritizing yourself in the process. So for me, it took me a while to figure out how to kind of balance all of that. I left one organization that I was working with during COVID. I had been there for 6 years, and it just felt like a time to explore somewhere else. And I was um, really focused on finding an organization that aligned with my values.
Hmm.
I re-looked at my values, and I was like, I really want to find a job and an organization and a team and a boss that aligns with that for me, because I felt like I had kind of let that slide in my last job. So I did that. I feel like I found that. It was amazing. I got a couple of promotions that felt really nice. And then my world came to an abrupt halt. And I use the saying like completely out of the blue, but like if I'm being honest, that doesn't even really cut it at all. So I had at the age of 42, I had two strokes a couple of days apart from each other. And I like to say to people, like, imagine you are an independent, single, professional, hard worker. You have all of your things going on in your life that you probably don't give a lot of thought to when you get up each morning. You just go do them. They're there. They bring you value, all of these things. And for me, that was me. Like I went to the gym every day. I had a really active dog. I was single, working from home, like consulting on the side. I was loving life. And in no way did I ever think that a major medical event like that would happen to me. And
Hmm.
I think that maybe that does come from probably does come from a privileged perspective. I recognize the privilege that I had and have. But also being super honest, like I never thought that I would be someone who would experience a brain injury like that.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, like I say, that it happened out of the blue was is an understatement. And it changed how I learn. It changed how I communicate. It changed how I operate in the world. It changed parts of my identity.
Hmm.
It changed a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything right down to like not being able to go to the gym for like a number of years.
Oh, yeah.
Um, which I feel like has impacted how I see myself. And so I think that right there is what took me out of the career path that I was traveling on. I really saw my career being like such a huge part of my identity. And
Yeah.
then that stopped. And so again, I was in this place of like, what matters now? Like, what
Yeah.
really matters, right? Life can change in a flash to any one of us any day.
Yeah.
And so I went through this really foundational point in my life where I was like, what really matters? Like, I feel like I need to give this attention.
Hmm.
And it took me a while to define that for me at that point because it had changed, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, it's so interesting that you talk about, sorry, my cat's playing with the light. It's so interesting that you talk about, it coming from a place of privilege that you maybe didn't expect that to happen. And
Hmm.
while I think maybe partly that, but at the same time, when you look at it and you think about like you were doing the things to be healthy, like you were active, you were
Hmm.
doing all of these things. So it's not something that you would necessarily expect to happen. Yet
Hmm.
I know, like with my background, it does. I've seen this happen to a number of people who just like didn't expect it. Like there's a number of
Hmm.
reasons why people have strokes, but that's another case for, like you said, like this could happen at any time. And it's not to like
Hmm.
scare people, but it's just really to give you a different perspective on like what does matter, what is important.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And that, like, one may call it like a cliche statement, but like living to your best or your most every day. Like,
Yeah.
I have maybe like a pretty strong boundary of like, if there's something that doesn't feel super aligned with me that I don't want to do, I don't do it.
Yeah.
And someone may look at that and be like, well, maybe you should try that. I'm like, no, it doesn't align with
Mm.
me now. And I think that comes from that experience. Like, again, life could change at any moment, and I want to spend my time, spend my life with the people and things that matter most to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that that is just so incredibly important. And
Hmm.
we don't think about that nearly enough because we get caught
Yeah.
up in all of these things that we think that we need to be focusing on and that we should do. And we get caught up in this hustle of like all of
Hmm.
this other shit that re does it really matter that much? Like,
Hmm.
get down to what truly matters to you, like at the end of the day. And I have been there at the end for so many people. And
Hmm.
I can say this with so much certainty. What does not matter is the fact that you hustled every day of your life.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
no one's looking back on that and being like, I hustled so hard.
Yeah.
That's not the thing.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like, and maybe you've experienced this also, working in like a corporate or an office environment, I feel like we are led to believe that climbing that corporate ladder, getting that promotion, getting higher pay, all of these things, overworking, again, pushing ourselves maybe down the priority list, those things are the things that are required to be quote unquote successful. And
Hmm.
I believe that. I was told that. And I was
Yeah.
like, yep, okay, this is what I have to do. I stuck my hand up for everything. Like,
Yeah.
yes, this is my job description, but I'll do that and that too.
Yeah.
And that led me to being burnt out. And that led me to not living my life in a way that like actually aligned with me. But I had lost that. So I think a lot of us do experience that
Yeah.
of I say like moving along someone else's map with someone else's directions because we
Yes.
think that's what we should do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It truly is. And so after, like, when you had the stroke,
Hmm.
what did it look like after? What was your life like after? Because I I love to talk about this because I don't think that people really understand how life-changing this is. And then
Hmm.
we can, talk about how you actually work with people after having that experience.
Yeah, yeah. So I have this story that I'll share with you of like what my healing journey was like. Um, and the story is like I had a variety of different therapists and whatnot that I had to go to as part of my healing. My strokes impacted the language side of my brain. So this is, and you might notice me now, like I talk, well, you didn't know me before, but I talk more slowly now. There's like spaces between my words because I feel like it's almost like a manual process. I have to like look in my brain, find the word that I want to use, and then speak it out.
Hmm.
So some people tell me, oh, that sounds thoughtful, like you're speaking thoughtfully. And like, oh, I appreciate that. For me, it
Good.
doesn't feel like that. It
Yeah.
feels like I am having to find the word that I want to use. Question, is that the right word? Be like, yes, it is. No, it isn't. And then speak it out.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting process that I feel like my brain is going through now that it didn't before. But the story that I'll share with you is one that I had with a speech therapist. So I had to meet with a speech therapist 3 days a week for a number of months. And the very first meeting that we had, this was actually, I had this same kind of conversation when I was still in the hospital, but like I wasn't even really properly functioning then. But with my speech therapist, the exercise was pick all the words that you can think of that begin with the letter F. And I remember sitting there going like, what? What? Like, I have to do this? This makes me feel like an unintelligent person. This makes me feel like an exercise that you would give your child or an elderly person. I'm a smart, educated person. I don't want to have to do this. Like, I was
Yeah.
very angry. And I looked at her and I said, can I say the word fuck? Because that is the first letter that starts, or the first word that starts with F that comes to my mind.
That would be
And
mine.
she was like, sure. And she wrote it down. And I was like, okay, amazing. Because even right now, as I'm telling you the story, like I feel quite like I'm like kind of vibrating a little bit
Yeah.
because I still have
Yeah.
that anger of like,
Yeah.
why did this happen to me? And I don't want to have to do this.
Hmm.
So I
Yes.
can say I've like processed that feeling, but clearly I totally haven't yet. But I think that like not going to work, not going to the gym, not being able to drive my car, not being able to remember a movie or an actor's name in a
Yeah.
conversation that I'm having with someone because it's just not there. And instead, going to speech therapy appointments and trying to remember all the words that I can begin with the letter F was like, I don't know, what's the right word? Humbling, depressing, probably a few other things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, I don't laugh because I find that part funny. I laughed because fuck would be the first word that I would think of also.
Yeah,
And
totally right.
I I know, like that's exactly what I've seen people go through. And it,
Mm,
from what I've seen, obviously I haven't experienced this, but from seeing it, it looks so frustrating. Like it looks like the
hmm.
most frustrating thing you can experience because you can tell that someone is just like, why is this happening? Like,
Hmm.
and it's just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It was quite frustrating and like I remember feeling quite impatient. Like I
Mhm.
remember being like, I don't need to do this. I want to get back to work. I want to
Yeah.
get back to the gym. And I think that impatience probably didn't serve me as well in the long run if I were to look back. Um, but it was like I wanted to rush through the recovery part. I was like, I don't need to do this. I'm a capable, intelligent person. I don't need to do this. When in fact I really did.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it was just that like acceptance is maybe the word that is coming to my mind now, right? Like it took me a long time to accept, hey, this happened.
Hmm.
It wasn't your fault. You didn't do anything to make this happen. This was a
Yeah.
hereditary thing that's happening in your body that caused these strokes. Um, but I needed to accept that it had happened.
Yeah.
And before I could do anything else, before I could decide what really matters, before I could be like, okay, what's my next step in life and career, whatever, I needed to accept that this had happened. And that took me a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's so common. I don't I don't think I've ever seen anyone that's just like, yeah, I'm totally fine with this like this having
Yeah.
happened. No. I it runs the gamut and yeah, it is not
Hmm.
a fun thing to go through, that's for sure, to say the least, but
Yeah.
it's just and it does totally change your life. Like it's
Hmm.
completely different.
Yeah.
So talk about now, I want to get into since that happened, how did that shift everything for you? Like what does that look like, in the ways that you just generally operate in your life and then how you work with people now? How has
Hmm.
that influenced what you do now?
Yeah. So I think the first thing that comes to my mind is just like what was described to me as and you probably are more familiar with the medical terms than I am, but like that like progress scale for lack of a better term, that like immediately your brain works very hard to recover itself, and so there's a very high track
Hmm.
of like you're going to see progress from like day to day to day,
Yeah,
which I saw in myself. And so that was comforting, I guess. That was like, okay, I can remember more words that start with the letter F because we did this exercise twice last week. So like that was comforting, I guess. And then it kind of starts to plateau
yeah.
after a couple of years. And so I feel like that's where I am now. And maybe this is like, as I'm saying this out loud to you, maybe this is like another level of acceptance, right? That like I feel like maybe this is where I will be for a while now. Um, Things that I still really struggle with is technology. Do not make me your tech person. Do not ask me to like install a new tool on my computer and have it speak to other tools. I mean, you and I had this conversation previously. I am
Yeah,
absolutely terrible at that, and I didn't used to be.
yeah.
So that's something that sucks. Um, but it is what it is. I think for me now, um, a lot of screen time is also hard. Like if I
Hmm.
have a back-to-back morning of meetings and client calls and emails and all the things, this is the beauty of being self-employed, is like by 2-ish or 3-ish, I'll be like, my day's over because my
Yeah,
brain actually isn't functioning anymore. And not just functioning in a way of like I'm tired or I feel like brain foggy, can't focus. It's actually like I can't put a sentence together. Like I will tell
yeah,
my husband, like, I actually can't have this conversation right now because I'm having a hard time understanding what you're saying and then coming back with a response that makes sense. So can we just have some quiet time and like do something that doesn't require a lot of verbal communication?
yeah.
So I know that in and of myself. Um, the sensory environment piece is really big for me now. Um, Fluorescent lights were never a fan. I was never a fan of those in early days, but now they like are really irritating to me. Loud spaces, like take me
Hmm.
to a restaurant where it's busy and there's no like soundproofing happening anywhere and there's nine different conversations. My brain can't tell the difference between one and the next, and it will
Yeah,
try and almost I feel like it's trying to hear all of the nine conversations and I can't focus on the person in front of me. And I'll often like put my hands around my ears and be like, I want to really stare at you so that I can really pay attention. But
yeah.
that's a space that's really hard for me. Um, so I think that's maybe how I operate now. It's a bit differently than before. Um, and then to the second part of your question, this experience that I went through was the birth of my business. So when I
Yeah.
went back to work, the job that I had at the time, um, I will never forget that first day. Like I went back and we were all working virtually still. Um, and I had a new boss, a new team, and a new job. I should say no job. Um, that was still my new job was to come, but so I had no job description, and this feeling of like I don't belong here was so strong, like so strong. It
Yeah.
wasn't even a question for me of like how do I fit in here? How do I find my place here? It was like I don't belong here.
Yeah.
And so it took me a while to really do something with that. But like I say, this was the birth of my business. And I think the transfer from HR to coaching is one that a lot of people do, and that made sense
Hmm.
for me. Um, and now I help other people again, like find their belonging at work. I work with a lot of folks who identify as neurodivergent. And so, like, how can coaching best suit you? Do you like Zoom? Do you prefer the phone? Do you want cameras off? Do you want to doodle while we have a conversation? Like, all of these things are the items of flexibility that I can
Hmm.
bring to my clients to make that space work best for them. And I feel like taking that and like zooming out for a minute, this is what wasn't there for me when I returned to work. And I
Yeah.
say that not faulting anyone specific, but I say that, and I probably didn't even have the language to like share that with people at the
Yeah.
time because I was just experiencing it as well. But that's what I experienced, and that's what I see other people experiencing. Again,
Hmm.
trying to fit into this box, you have to do
Yeah.
all the things this way, show up this way, perform this
Hmm.
way, be successful this way.
Yeah.
And that is not, I feel so strongly, that is not allowing someone to be recognized for their strengths
Yeah.
and show up in the way that works best for them. Because guaranteed, we all are successful in whatever we want to do, whatever we are doing, we can be successful, and guaranteed that's going to look different from person to person.
Well,
So,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
100%. And I think it's so weird that so many people have this thought that we all need to do things exactly the same way. It's
Hmm.
actually so weird to me. And I mean, I'm also neurodivergent, so I think maybe it
Hmm.
comes from that, that I just like, I
Hmm.
don't understand that thinking. Like,
Yeah.
I can't conceptualize that because I don't fit in that box. Like I
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
force myself into that
Yeah.
box because I'm not there.
Yeah.
And it's also, though, so interesting how you said, there weren't any of those supports available for you. And I find that it's it's somewhat better now, but there's still that's something that's been lacking for so long.
Hmm.
And it continues to be, even though there's like so much more awareness about this. And
Hmm.
that's kind of, what you're talking about. And it's just like, I don't know what point we have to get past this whole, no, we don't all do things the exact same way.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think awareness comes to my mind first. There's a great book I just read called The Hidden Force by Ed Thompson. Talks about neurodiversity at work, and he really speaks to awareness. Like that
Hmm.
awareness needs to be there. That vocabulary, that language needs to be there in organizations to even start the conversation.
Yeah.
And I think there's so many more pieces to that whole journey. Um, but I think, yeah, exactly what you're saying. There's this odd expectation that a project, a task, a priority, whatever we're talking about, can only be done in steps A, B, C, and D.
Yeah.
And you, as employee, have to prove that you can do A, B, C, and D to, you know, be checked off as a good employee, to get
Yeah.
that next promotion, to be considered for the whatever the next new job.
Yeah.
Which I just again feel so strongly that that's not the
No.
case. Yeah.
No, it's totally not. And I think this is also what happens in business.
Hmm.
It's this same thing where it's like success only looks this one way, or you can
Yeah.
only achieve it by doing X, Y, and Z. And it's like that is so far from reality. Like, that's not how
Hmm.
anything works. We can do things so wildly different and still achieve success and what success looks like for us.
Hmm.
And that's where all of these like shoulds and all of that come into
Yeah.
play.
Yeah. 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 I feel like that word that I used before, the like reclaiming your belonging, reclaiming the space where you want to be, where you know you show up as your best self.
Hmm.
This is the conversation that I love to have with people because I feel like it's kind of like this vague thing that we maybe have a sense of what it is for ourselves,
Yeah.
but maybe not. And I feel like there's so much value in defining that for ourselves because then we're not
Hmm.
showing up to someone else's expectations. We may
Yeah.
be aware of their expectations and we can say, like, I hear you, I see what you're saying, what you're asking me to do. And we can have that conversation of like, I want to approach it this way. How do you
Yeah.
feel about that? Can I demonstrate to you what that would look like? Here's
Yeah.
what I need to do this project that you're asking me to do. Um, but I feel like until we like really use our agency to step into that space, the shoulds and the expectations and the other people's directions and maps will always be there.
Yeah. Yeah. I 100% agree. And it truly is. And I talk about this too all the time. And, some people are like, oh, whatever, that's not a part of it. But this is the main part is defining like what how does this work for you? What do you
Hmm.
actually want? What do you actually need? What feels good to you?
Yeah.
That's that is one of the biggest parts of this because if you can't
Hmm.
define that, you're going to fall back into all of these shoulds and the comparison and I should be
Yeah.
doing this, I should be doing that, and that's the only way to do it, but it's not. You
Hmm.
have to think outside of that and really figure out what is going to be best for you.
Hmm. Yeah. And this is whether you want to say fortunately or unfortunately, these are a lot of the people that I work with that find themselves way past the shoulds. They're like they've
Yeah,
done the shoulds already. They are moving forward on someone else's map with someone else's directions, and they recognize that they're not happy.
yeah,
Things aren't aligning for them. And so, like again, I really appreciate those conversations because it like it makes the hair stand up on my arms with joy that I get to help them like define that and really
hmm,
recognize, what matters most and how they might want to step out of that space. Maybe they don't, but they guide that conversation. And I get to be alongside them while we do that. So I think that is my job, which is when I say it out loud, it sounds pretty cool to me, anyways.
yeah. I love it. I absolutely love it because it's so important. It's so important. So when
Mm,
you meet with someone like this, how does the conversation go? Like what are the
mhm.
conversations that you have with someone to really get them out of that kind of place that they're stuck in?
Good question. I mean, it really can vary, right? I think the coaching style that I practice is not an advice giving style.
Yeah.
Um, so I partner with them. The word co-create comes up a lot in coaching language, but I partner with them to for all the things, right? So how do you want us to communicate together in these conversations? Like that's the beginning part of the conversation. So we talked earlier about like Zoom, phone, camera on, camera off, all of
Yeah.
these things. What works best for you? How can I make this space work for you? So that's a big part of the conversation. And then we may talk about things like values. We may talk about strengths. Those things may be really well defined and apparent to someone that I work with, or they may not be.
Hmm.
Um, I think what I love most about my job is that what someone comes to coaching with, they usually have a topic or a roadblock or a situation that's giving them grief that they want to figure out a solution to. Um, and I love the digging down under that because I would say like 99% of the time, what they come with matters, but there's
Hmm.
foundation, there's like a root to it.
Yeah.
And I love figuring out that root with them. And then I feel like once you have that root, you're like literally like if we're using like a tree is coming to my mind right now as a metaphor, if we can figure out what might not be aligning for that root, then we can see the tree begin to blossom and grow. So
Hmm.
cheesy to some, maybe not. Um, but for me, that's what I love about my job and at a high level, what those conversations kind of sound like.
Yeah. No, I love that analogy. I love that because I think that that makes so much sense. You do have to get to that point of finding out like what really is going on here. It's
Hmm.
almost never the thing that like people actually think that it is. They're like, yeah, it's this thing.
Hmm.
And then you talk to them and you keep asking questions and you find out a little bit more and a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then you're like, yeah, it's not actually that thing. It's really this
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. And I think too in coaching language, this is coaching, there's coaching the person and coaching the problem,
Hmm.
right? If we can focus on the person, I can't solve the problem for you,
Yeah.
right? I'm not in your world. I don't have that ability. Um, but looking at the root, now we're coaching the person,
Hmm.
right? So how do you want to take what you're learning to the problem that's sitting in front of you? Again, if we're looking at the root, we're looking at the person. This is where the light bulb moments happen. This is where they go like, oh yes, that thing that we've been talking about is really what's driving my ick with my boss or this situation at work that totally feels gross to me.
Yeah.
Then that they can take that learning and apply it to the problem. And it's landing well for them, right? They have
Yeah.
agency in that it's coming from them, not from me.
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely love that. I love it. So, one last question that I love to
Mm.
ask everyone. What is the impact that you want to make with your business and your
Mm.
life?
Mm. Wow. Ending with a doozy there, Tara.
I know. I know.
Um, I think the impact that I want to make is I have a such a strong pull towards this feeling. It's more than a feeling, that we all deserve work, whatever that means for us. Are we an entrepreneur? We are a corporate professional, whatever that, however we define that. We all deserve work where we can contribute, we can earn money, we can grow, and not everyone has the opportunity or the chance to do that. So
Hmm.
I think I want to leave behind a space where if I can support even one person to feel like they are in that, they can earn money, grow, contribute, that to me is probably my definition of belonging. That to me is what I would want to leave behind.
I love that. I love
Mm.
that. That's so good. So where can people find you?
Mm. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, but this is my website. So coachingthatbelongs.com and everything goes out from there.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I loved this conversation.
Thanks, Tara. Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. And if you loved it listening, you can give the podcast a 5-star rating, a review, a like on YouTube. I'd love that. Subscribe. And as always, go after everything that you fucking want and be unapologetic about it.